Indonesia, which, by the way, at the time Obama got adopted, was listed as a communist country.
Okay. All right.
All right.
So is that the murder that they were trying to pin on him? The murders that happened in Vietnam and those other states?
No, this was in
was
Indonesia. He ran the death squads for the Indonesian government. In other words, he was Heinrich Himmler for the Indonesian government, like Heinrich Himmler was for the Nazis.
Right.
And the deal that makes it an interesting comparison is the population of Indonesia at the time was larger than the population of Nazi Germany when Heinrich Himmler was doing what he did.
Okay.
He had the death squads, and it was on his untrained
your phone
somebody executed.
Yeah.
So that's what they wanted him for. But that's his adopted father. You know that stuff about the drone ranger where he assassinated all these folk by drone? That's him.
Yeah.
And there's another case that is very scary that you don't even hear these little cupcakes on CNN, NBC, CBS at all talk about. And it's one where the father filed an injunction against the Obama administration. The father was born in Detroit, Michigan. His son was born in Detroit, Michigan. His grandson was born in Detroit, Michigan. The White House, Obama had issued an executive order to assassinate him. I thought it was BS until I got to reading the transcript of the testimony when the U.S. State Department acknowledged, yes, there is a hit, so to speak, Your Honor, out on this man. So the judge is, incredulous. What did he do? So they acknowledged he committed no act that was a crime in the United States, no act that was a crime in international law, but Obama thought in his sole discretion the man should have been killed because what he was saying was a threat to the United States. So the court issued an injunction.
Okay.
And the Constitution says the president has to follow the orders of the court. And if he doesn't, that becomes a crime in office. So Obama deliberately countermanded the order of the court, ordered the continued execution. And while the judge was waiting on further briefs with the injunction in place, they assassinated the man by drone and then killed his 16-year-old son by drone 4.5 hours later.
Wow.
To show you how bad it was, I used to have a copy of the transcript. The judge says, wait a minute, you're trying to tell the court that you are claiming that it is within the president's authority that if in his sole determination, with no due process, he can have an American citizen killed if by chance this man in ignorance of the circumstances leaves the country. Well, no, Your Honor. What do you mean no? Well, he doesn't have to leave the country. It says pause, extended pause from the court. Wait a minute. Are you saying that the president of the United States is claiming the authority to kill an American citizen in the United States of America, and he hasn't even done anything that could result in an arrest warrant, let alone an indictment being returned? Well, yes, Your Honor, we are, if in his discretion. Where do you get that? That's not in the Constitution. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, nor property without due process of law. Gentlemen, where do you get that? Well, that's just the inherent powers of the government. It goes beyond the Constitution. The judge says, oh, the devil it does. He said, the court is issuing an injunction. This is not happening. You will brief that. And he set it off for 30 days and then 30 more for them to finish the brief, and they killed him anyway.
Would I be out of place asking you who that man was?
Oh, they knew who he was by name.
I'm talking about me. I want to know his name. Or is it going to get me in trouble?
It's been like 2010, something like that. I mean, it's in the back of my head, but you can look it up. Just
okay. You don't remember the name.
That's what you're saying. I don't remember the name, but
the actual case itself, I would have liked to have known that detail so I could go read about it. But it's fine. I understand what you're saying. You're saying that he wasn't as good as what they try to put him out to be.
Yeah, but we'll see. This is the thing too. What the point was is at least he knew about killing because that's what he grew up around.
Right.
His daddy, his adoptive daddy from before he was 2 years old was When he died, I think he was reported as being one of the 10, 15 richest men on earth. When he died, left everything to an Indonesian trust fund that U.S. law can't touch.
Right.
So Business Insider reported his net income for 2018 after all taxes and expenses were paid, net at $570 million on a reported first draw against his trust fund of $1.25 billion. Now,
Nice.
that's the dude that's in the White House trying to play like he's a homeboy. And the fact of the matter is, until he got in college, he'd never been in a school with a black man or another black guy in it.
Wow.
But you see, this is the kind of mythology we have. Now, how did he become an imported mulatto Kenyan bush bunny via Indonesia, president of the United States? How does it come about that a a Tamil Hindu Brahmin Indo-Aryan import become nominated for vice president of the United States, and we still don't have anybody black that has black American ancestors in that position?
Right.
That's probably because they don't have the crippling culture that native black Americans have. And by native black Americans, I mean you have at least 1 or 2 generations of black ancestors that had to live in the United States. And by the way, if you want to see what it was really like, because I remember it, they've got a series on HBO called Lovecraft Country.
Yeah, that's been very popular recently.
Yeah, but forget the storyline. What they do have down absolutely accurately is what you got treated like being black in the South and what it was like even being in a northern city like Chicago or Los Angeles. At the time you see it in there, I happen to have been 6th grade, I think, in elementary school and went through there and saw that. Okay. So 5th or 6th grade, so it's true. I remember my old man would drive me and my mother from LA to visit people in Tennessee, or I remember when my mother worked as a librarian for Tuskegee Institute in Alabama, and a couple of times she had to get bullet holes in the car patched up. See, you didn't travel in the daytime in the South unless you were within 15 miles of where you lived or a relative lived. You parked in the woods during the daylight hours so you didn't run into Sheriff Bubba or Trooper Johnson.
Right.
And they had a guide, which they talk about in Lovecraft Country, which Sinclair Oil used to sell for 25 cents a copy. A black postman started that, and he had a bunch of other black folk went around the country, and they would record the names and addresses and phone numbers of places where black folk could get fed and stay in the colored motels.
Right.
So if you couldn't find one of those, you hid in the woods and you drove after dark. That sundown county thing you're talking about, that's real.
Yeah.
That's how we got a couple of bullet holes in a car that I was riding in.
Right.
One came through the door. Hell, I was a kid. I was about 9 years old. Bullet came through about a foot above my lap, straight through the car.
Wow.
You know, I mean, that's some serious mess.
Yeah.
So that's what it really was. So when everybody's talking about the police now, you have no idea. There's a scene where there's this supposed white woman in the black neighborhood. She's incoherent. She bumps into this brother about 12, 13 years old. And the police drive up looking for her. They jump out, guns drawn, and the 13-year-old kid's got his hands up in the air before they get out. If you notice the scenes, whenever the cops drive up, the black folk, you know, assume the position, hands in the air. That's the way it used to be.
Right.
It ain't that bad now. And one of the things we knew then, don't run, because they sure enough kid you. And by the way, a lot of these black folk that are getting shot because they're scared of the police, punks get dead real quick. Brave man at least dies with style.
Right.
All up, man up, get some nuts, damn it. Make them out of cast iron and stand your damn ground. Don't run. I mean, I got told when I was a kid, don't run from a dog, they'll chase you and bite you. Don't run from another predator. Somebody who's got on blue, he'll shoot you too.
Right.
So stand up like a man. That's Ferguson. That's a whole bunch of other stuff somebody ran. See, if you're going to sit there and do something about it, it's too late when you get your ass down on the ground. You should have been taking karate or martial arts 10, 15 years before, so at least you could defend yourself.
Right.
Now, one good thing about this brother, Walker, what is his name? The one that shot back in the Briana Taylor thing.
Okay, yeah, we go ahead and say.
Well, see, he had to see all these people talking about you can't sit there and survive if you shoot at the cops. Well, he did. He's still alive. He's still breathing.
Yeah.
Now his lawyer's ruining it for him by saying he was just trying to fire a warning shot, which is not cool because the law in that state says you got a CCW. You bet not fire a warning shot because you can kill him straight off or try to kill him, because you got a right to kill him to stop him from putting somebody else in jeopardy. And under the doctrine of tumultuous entry, which is 1,000-year-long common law principle, which means somebody kicks down the door, rams through the portal, you don't have to ask questions, you can shoot.
Right.
They have codified that in what they call the castle doctrine. So the brother exercised his rights under the castle doctrine, he opened fire. Now his lawyer's trying to say it was a warning shot. Oh crap, that just blew it. He just put some liability on his client's head, which, since there's no pending criminal charge, there's a no true bill on that. By the way, no true bill against the brother that shot, as well as to the cops who shot back. People need to look at that. Somebody black opened fire on the cops and is not being prosecuted for it.
Right.
See, let's look at the other thing. That's one side of it. So, yeah, you can stand your ground. Yeah, you can have castle doctrine. And there was a young brother in there who was the head prosecutor. So he kept an injustice from being done, because if you charge the police, you're going to get that young brother charged too. See, the way it would have gone 40 years ago, I know because I dealt with it, is this way. You'd have a really racist prosecutor in there. What he would do is claim that the guy inside, what is it, Walker, or is it Wright? I forget. I'm getting old. Right, anyway. Let's say occupant of the apartment.
Yeah.
Person A hears all of this tumult, he opens fire. Okay. 40 years ago, they would have charged him with assault to commit murder, which is a felony. When the police returned fire and Briana Taylor got killed, they would have attributed her demise to him under felony murder. So this brother would have been looking at a murder charge based on Briana Taylor dying rather than the police. That's the way they did it for most of my legal career. So this prosecutor said, this young guy had the rights he had under the castle doctrine. He exercised them. He committed no crime. The cops who fired back committed no crime trying to defend themselves. Briana Taylor just got caught in the crossfire. Shit happened.
Right.
But because it happened the way it was negligent, not criminal. So her remedy, or the family's remedy, was to go and, well, they settled it for $12 million, possibly 3 to 4 times that had they gone to trial, but they didn't. So in a homicide, you've got two things going. If it's wrongful death, you've got a civil action. And if somebody did something against the public peace, dignity, and order, then it's a state thing. See, murder is not something a private citizen's got anything to do about. It's the state or the U.S. government saying somebody did something against the public peace, dignity, and order, so we got to check dude out. If we find probable cause, he's going to have to stand trial. And if we can prove beyond a reasonable doubt he committed the crime, then, that's for him. Right. But you see, it may not be a crime. So as a bribe, and that's what a civil matter is about, you offer a bribe to the family so they don't engage in a vendetta and go after the cops. You say, well, we'll give you $12 million if that ends it. Okay, it does. We signed up on it. We got $12 million. It's like you're driving down the street and you make a left turn and you got distracted and somebody dies because of the collision at the intersection. Well, it's negligence. Somebody dies. So there are damages for the negligent death. but you're not charged with a crime. You see how that goes?
Yeah.
What they would have done on the first instance, I said that they would have done 40 years ago on this murder and the perpetration for a felony. The way we usually see it, and see it quite frequently, some dude or dudes come in to hold up the liquor store. They draw down on the manager responds, they got a shootout, and an innocent bystander is killed. The bullet that killed the bystander was fired by the manager. He's not charged properly with murder. It's the people that tried to hold the place up.
Right.
So what happens ordinarily in America is the guy that fired inside the house would have been charged with assault and murder, and Briana Taylor's death would have been on his shoulders. But
yes.
You see, there was another story to this. It's the ignorant folks sitting up there, know nothing about the law, pontificating, jumping up and down because they're upset instead of cool and calm. They didn't get it. And then the other thing is, so you now have a precedent for guess what? A whole lot of black folk who won't punk out and might shoot back if some crap goes down the wrong way.
Yeah, I'm hoping I'm a part of a team that will fight back when if this goes. I just would like that it not go that direction. You know what I mean?
Well, okay. I had a situation where this is actually what happened, and I know it because I wasn't a judge. I just went out to observe. Okay. One of my chief bailiffs had, after I retired, a friend of mine now, he had gone over to fugitive. So we ran into each other. Why don't you come on? We're going to go get this guy. He wanted big time for multiple assaults and all this other stuff. And we've got warrants for him, and we're getting ready to go pull off a raid as soon as we find out where he is. So I went out there with him, the fugitive, and I went with them. It was about 4 carloads, and what happened is they found him. Well, they knocked and then immediately kicked in the door. Here's what was going on inside. This dude's like 6'6" and about 320 pounds. He was butt naked. He was dashing to a sawed-off 12 shotgun, 12 gauge in the corner. Yeah. Okay. The woman was much smaller. She was naked. She was trying to load up a pistol that had been unloaded because they had been cleaning it. So everybody's trying to wrestle them to keep them from getting to the guns. Right. So finally, one of the women that went on the raid got the pistol away from the woman who just about had it around chambered. And the rest of these guys are jumping all over this guy who's got the butt of the 12 gauge in his hand getting ready to ooh-wee on somebody. Now, if they'd done what everybody talks about, somebody would have been dead because this dude had like 4 or 5 assaults to commit murder. He had 2 manslaughter convictions and a whole bunch of stuff. This is bad news. Mm-hmm. See, this is the reality that some folk have to deal with. And a lot of people don't get it. It's not in a movie. You don't come back, and these guys like their wives, children, and grandchildren. Okay. It's just a job to them.
Well, let me interject this point, just a point of, I guess, inquiry or whatever. According to the circumstances, and the guy's name is Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker is the husband. I mean, the boyfriend. Boyfriend. The police were actually at the door, and the guy they was looking for wasn't there. So this is a situation that,
Well, that's why it's negligence. Okay. But you see, what happens is they're looking through a closed door. It's late in the evening, all right?
Okay.
They don't know whether he's there. If you're on a wanted list, you try to disguise where you are. The problem is Briana Taylor had allowed him to have phone messages delivered to her phone and use his address for mail. So they got a tip. That's how they work. So they got an active warrant. And the warrant is not a search warrant. The warrant is for an arrest where probable cause has already been found.
Right.
That's the difference between nobody's been formally charged and somebody who has been formally charged.
I get that. And then the other piece of the puzzle that I read was that they already had in custody the guy that they were looking for.
That's why there's a negligent settlement, because they did not get the information.
Okay.
See, in other words,
Yes, sir. Let me just ask a couple questions. I'm not trying to. I can't compete
No,
with
no,
you.
I know,
You
but
have the knowledge. But what I was saying is if you go up this ladder, then you have the negligence and you have the incompetence to continue this run
yes, you
because they
do.
should know. They should know who they have in custody and why they shouldn't be doing raids with.
Exactly, exactly.
So shouldn't those guys be fired at the minimum?
Well, the people that are responsible might have been, but you know where it comes into play? A lot of it is tied up because somebody getting paid on the low part of the totem pole is answering the call or is responsible for getting the information out, wants to go take a smoke. Or if you've ever had somebody you hired because you want to patronize black to take care of your yard, and he's supposed to be there on Tuesday and he doesn't show on Tuesday, he comes dragging in on Wednesday, talking about his mama was sick, well, that's fine, but that's the fourth week in a row you contracted to do my yard. See, all of these things go on and the work ethic is sort of slipped. So yeah, that's negligence, big time negligence.
Yes, sir.
But you see, the cops on the scene didn't commit a crime because they didn't have criminal intent.
Okay.
Now, what's the difference? What does criminal intent mean? Okay, let me give you a crude example. Let's supposing that in the state of Georgia, it's against the law to kick trash cans. All right. But now somebody's walking down the alleyway and there's a curtain, and crawling on the front of the curtain are some large roaches and a bunch of flies. So the person kicks at the bugs without realizing it. There's a garbage can behind the curtain. He kicked the garbage can. Has he committed a crime? No, because the action he took was legal and it was not reckless and it was not directed toward committing a crime. So he has to have what you call mental intent, mens rea, evil intention.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, you do something by accident, you pay damages, you do it intentionally, then it's a crime.
Okay. I
See
follow
the
you
difference?
on that. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I
Yes.
mean, it's been the law. It's just 1,000 years old. It
Yeah.
ain't nothing new. And
Yep.
by the way, what I just gave you wasn't from law school. That was from 5th grade. I had a 5th grade teacher named Mr. Campbellman, and it had come up because of some stuff that was in the newspapers in Los Angeles back then. This was in the 50s. So for a week, we discussed it in 5th grade class. But you see, now you don't get that in your education coming up.
Yeah, I know this education system is so terrible. Now, I'm so happy I don't have any kids because I would hate to be around a kid as stupid as some of the ones I deal with. You know what I mean, and have them be mine, and not and now like I'm sorry to say, but my mother, when I got out of line, she could handle me. Nowadays, you go to jail if you even grab your son too hard. You know what I mean? So how do you
By
keep
the
them
way,
focused? So it's a
well,
big
you got a
issue.
lot of namby-pamby. You got a lot of little namby-pamby poo cupcakes that don't understand reality because they read some book, some idiot came up with who doesn't even have any damn kids 4.5 years ago, and now they think it's the latest trendy in thing. Worst thing ever happened to child rearing was Dr. Spock
I was
back
just
in
thinking that.
1962.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is some crap.
Yeah.
See, in other words, and then the other thing is taking the fathers out of the home.
Absolutely.
See, what is transition to that? Not always, but 90% of the time is mothers tend to discipline when they get angry. Fathers tend to discipline in a cold-blooded fashion.
Mm-hmm.
You did what? Let me get a hold of it. Don't you run from me. That's mom.
Mm-hmm.
Wait till your daddy gets home. Dad walks through the door. Do you know what your son did? What did he do now? All right, boy, come here. My belt, you know, the one in the closet, bring it. But no, you knew you're going to catch hell when you did it. Take your punishment like a man. All right. Put your hands on your knees. Look at that wall. Don't eyeball me, boy. You're getting 10. Yep. Wham! 1. Get to 2. Wham! 2, 3. That don't count. You moved. Act like a man. Take your punishment like a man. I don't care if you're crying. I'm going to make it worse. Keep crying like a little sissy, and I'm going to light that behind up.
Exactly.
Yep. And, take your punishment like a man. Now, take it back, put it up, and go wipe your face off.
Right.
See, that's a man thing. It's not anger. It's just cold-blooded. This is what you get. What I started getting toward the end of my term on the criminal bench was, young man, would you like to advise the court as to why you did this? What's advisement? Well, would you like to tell the court why you did it? Well, yeah, I was emotional. Would you please tell the court why you did it? I was emotional. See, that's not an excuse. Why did you do it?
Right.
They don't get it because they've been and that was 20 years ago. They've been looking at it all the time on TV. And one needs to learn to express one's emotions. One needs to feel okay about things. No, you don't. There's some business to be taken care of, and it doesn't make any difference how you feel about whether you want to. You ought to, so you do it. And because you did it when you ought to, you feel good about doing what you ought to do. Now, racism is bad.
Yes, sir.
It still exists. I've been saying it for years.
Mm-hmm.
Until Trump got in and heightened the contradictions, everybody was running around talking about there are no more problems. I was saying, yeah, there is. But you see, if you're going to get into doing something about the problem, control yourself so you get sufficiently logical to be able to identify the problem and craft a remedy to it or prepare yourself to deal with it.
Right.
Like you want to go play football, you just don't walk in the 10th grade and go out on the field and play football. Coach is going to put you through some calisthenics, drills, and everything to get you fit to play. Then he's going to start teaching you fundamentals. Once you get the fundamentals and you're fit enough to deal with what's going on, then you get some plays. Then you get to run some plays. And then maybe if you're good enough, you get in the game. And then you still have to stay in physical condition. Nowadays, we just want to do it. You know, we're supposed to be able to go out and run like Jim Brown or OJ or somebody, you know, just because we want to, and it doesn't work that way. Or get in the ring and fight like Ali when you haven't done any training and no practice, or you want to go for bad and you've never taken martial arts or boxing or anything. You get your butt whipped.
Yep. That's what's happening every day. It's a lot of I don't want to keep saying these kids because I sound like some old dude, but these kids, they just think that they're supposed to get everything free. They don't have to work for it. You know what I mean? They don't have to end up. They just feel like it should be given to them all the time. So I battle with that all the time. But let's go. Let us walk down a couple of these things that you've mentioned. You mentioned some stuff that I saw you on the internet speaking about OJ, and you said he didn't do it. My belief, and I argue that he did not do it. Can you expound on that a little bit? I know you just mentioned that. I'm gonna go to Cosby and the other ones too, real quick.
It's not my belief. It's my opinion.
Yes, sir. Opinion. I'm sorry.
Belief, you can believe the world is flat. Opinion, you can change it. But I got a tour of the whole evidence room by somebody I recruited to UCLA Law School.
Yes, sir.
Fine sister, but she was administrative law judge, Philly County Superior Court. I saw the whole thing.
Okay.
They slit
Nicole Brown
and Rodman Goldman got their throats slit from ear to ear and their tongues pulled.
Colombian necktie. Your phone.
Plenty of blood around on the ground.
Yeah.
A friend of mine who got called by the state as an expert on knife killing said, well, first off, this killing required at least 2 men to do it. Second thing, look at this scene. You got all of these footprints. One is a size 9 and the other one is a size 10 and a half, and OJ wears a 12.
Right.
You know, that thing about if it does not fit, you must acquit.
Right.
By the time that came about, Johnny Cochran and all of the defense team knew because they had brought in a guy named Richard Zuckerwar, who I'm all so acquainted with. He took a tracing of everybody's hand. OJ had a 2XL, and the glove that his company made was a size large, not 2XL.
Right.
So you see, another thing, Furman found it.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing, what the press has not told you is 4 of the chief detectives in the OJ case went to the penitentiary because of what happened in the Rampart scandal. They had to let 128 people out of the California prison system because these 4 had falsified evidence.
Right.
What